Liberate IT is an Oracle NetSuite solution provider that has been servicing Australian and New Zealand companies since 2011.
Okay, let's kick off. Welcome everybody to our latest of our user events. Today we are talking all things 2022.1 NetSuite release. We love putting these together, and the consulting team worked tirelessly to scale the release notes so that you don't have to. Today we'll be presenting the highlights of what we found in the new release, and it's important to us to keep you updated and informed of all things going on at NetSuite. So I am your host today, and I'll be ensuring that we go through all our content very concisely. My role here, in case you weren't aware, is just look after all of our customers who are now live. And we know that your business doesn't stand still, nor should the solution that you have to run your business. So I'm the pathway for any ongoing improvements that you'd like to make, whether it be licensing, inquiries, implementing changes in NetSuite, or looking for a recommendation on a trusted solution that other customers have had a good experience with. Love to hear from you and assist you with increasing your revenue or saving costs in your business. But that's enough of me. Let's go straight into today's session. Today, we are going to start with Paul Beattie. He will give us a run through of all the changes that have been happening in the last 6 months since we last caught up. Then we're going to have a number of our consultants, Mira, Brett, and Paul. They'll be presenting to you what we found in the latest release. And then we thought, hey, there's some recent customizations that we've put in place for a few of our customers. We'd love to share those with you all and let you know about them. And then that will be the wrap up for the official part of today. For any new customers to NetSuite, you've got me right at the end there, and I will take you through what is best practice for the new release upgrades. So, but enough of all that. I will get into the session proper. We will be recording today's session. In about a week's time, you'll see that on our YouTube channel or the resources page of our website. All the webinars that we do every fortnight are all posted there. It would be great for you to go and check those out. We also do a regular 101 for new users to NetSuite. So even if you're a long-time customer but you're new to NetSuite, go check those out. They're a great opportunity for you to learn some basics of NetSuite, but also have some Q&A for the hosts of those sessions. Talking of Q&A, we'll be having one at the end of each session for each of the consultants. Please put that in the Q&A box. Try and avoid the chat box that we've got there. I'll be monitoring it, but I'll be focused around the Q&A and make sure that we get all those questions answered. I'll be reading those out to the consultant to make sure that we capture all those for you. Okay, so I would now just love to introduce my good friend Paul Beattie to you all. Paul, hello, how are you?
Well, thank you, Andrew. How is it in sunny Sydney?
It is not sunny one little bit.
That
Nor
rain
has it
looks
been for a
pretty
month.
horrendous on the east coast of Australia, doesn't it?
Yeah, all up and down, indeed.
Well, welcome everybody to the 2022.1 release party. And once again, it's a party in front of our computers. Rachel, who organises the hosting of the event, still has a reservation at the Maritime Room in Viaduct Harbour. This has now been pushed out another 6 months before we all get to see you. But this room was originally booked to coincide with the America's Cup. Does anyone remember that far back? We thought we'd have a big party, have the user group, and then go and look at some yacht racing. But it's still there. Every 6 months we push it out, and hopefully next time, 2022.2 release party, we will all be together. We can buy you a beer. We can buy you that wine I've been promising for probably 2 years now. So yes, and why is it online again? Well, COVID is still running through the country, particularly here in New Zealand. Everyone I'm talking to has bandwidth issues as employees are away. It's really stretching the manufacturers I'm talking to. It's really stretching warehouse operations. But you know, I can once again report that all of Liberate's customers have been resilient. All of you are still standing, and all of you adapted successfully, and where we've been able to help, we've been thrilled to do so. But I mean, just huge congratulations to you all. in these really trying and now quite long times. And yeah, like you all, I'm so looking forward to the days of movement without risk of getting sick or worse, being a carrier and passing it on. This morning, I listened to a modeler saying they expected this wave to be on the downward trend within 3 weeks. So literally all we can do is hang on. We're just about there. And once again, we can all get out and start networking, talking to each other, and just get back to business. So changes at Liberate. Well, first of all, yesterday, I had the pleasure to welcome Sarah Fox to the Liberate team. Sarah has joined us after an illustrious 6 years with EcoStore, working as their NetSuite champion, and has now decided to jump the fence and be on the partner side. Sarah's going to bring a lot of experience to the engagements that she has with you all. And you know, it's in a lot of ways it's continuing Liberate's tradition of having that wonderful mix of consulting and industry experience around the table when implementing or optimizing our customers' systems and processes. We've got another new employee with decades of experience. Will also be starting in a few weeks, but spoilers, you'll find out about that in the next user group, probably before. And sorry news, Les, who all of those who talked to him realized he brought his own brand of enthusiasm and solutioning knowledge to Liberate, has decided to continue on his life journey. And after 2 years in Australia and then 2 years in sunny Nelson, he has decamped with his family to Japan. I want to welcome back Michelle Cronje, back from maternity leave. Some of you have known her as a wonderfully enthusiastic and knowledgeable consultant. She's coming back to Liberate as our support team leader. With her, she's bringing her new beautiful daughter, Lene, who I'm sure is going to be helping out on answering lots and lots of cases. On cases, last month we logged case number 10,000, which you know is a bit of a milestone. That prize goes to Jeanette at the Western Bay of Plenty Primary Health Organisation, which is not something I want to say fast 5 times, who was looking how to change a journal approval workflow. All congratulations. I'd like to congratulate Stefan on his marriage. Now look, any of you who are currently working with Stefan might have been wondering on the timings of his email recently. Well, for the last few months, he's been working New Zealand hours from India, where he's been organising his wedding to the lovely Anne after a 2-year COVID-induced delay. I've seen some photos. They look absolutely amazing. Both the couple look absolutely stylish, and Stefan looks as stylish as he always does. Stefan's now back in Melbourne, and Anne will be joining him in a few weeks. And Stefan, I want to wish you all the joy in the world after so many false starts in arranging your wedding. We've got a whole lot of new customers since I last talked to you in this format. In fact, some have already gone live since signing up after the last user group. So welcome to NetSuite and the Liberate family, Mint Innovations, the Laura Ferguson Trust in Wellington, Promax, Road Materials down in Dunedin, Show TV, which you would have seen selling you wonderful things, the Australian Dental Association, QCD, Choice Australia, which is, for those in New Zealand, is like New Zealand Consumer Organisation, Archant, MotorServe, which is a part of AIG, Avtel Global, and Scandia. So we've had a lot of new people come along, and you know it's just annoying. Some of these people I've not actually met except online. So again, looking forward to getting out around the country to say hello. Finally, in my intro spiel here, it's award time, and NetSuite has awarded us, based on our performance in 2021, the 5-star status. Once again, Liberate is a 5-star partner, which is NetSuite's top partner status. There's only a few 5-star partners in the ANZ region, and we're once again really honoured to be seen as one of the senior NetSuite partners in this region. So that's all I really have to say on things that have been happening in Liberate. I hope you enjoy the next few hours, get a lot of information from it, and as we always do in these every 6 months in these upgrade cycles. But in actual fact, right now, I'm not passing you back to Andrew because I want to have been asked to talk a little bit about the big data center move. So you've all probably heard, you've heard us talking, you've all got us excited. The big data center move is on. Over the years, many of you have asked and asked again, when will NetSuite finally have data centers in our region, not on the East Coast of the USA? And we've been promised this for quite a while, and various events have delayed the deployment of data centers for NetSuite in our region. And look, I've been the same. Liberate uses NetSuite extensively. Our finances, all our time entries, all our billings, our CRM, our multi-subsidiary between Australia and New Zealand, our intercompany, all works off NetSuite. So we're a heavy user of NetSuite. So yes, after a few false starts, it's happening, and I'm just as pleased as you all are. In fact, for some of you, it's already happened. They started the rollout late last year, and over the next 18 months, NetSuite is moving all 24,000 of their customers from the current 8 legacy data centers around the world to OCI data centers. So what is an OCI data center? OCI stands for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which in short is the next generation of data centers. It also continues NetSuite's concept of the company you're licensing your software from owning their own data centers. This isn't so with all ERP systems. Many outsource the security of their customers' data to third parties, and it's been NetSuite's concept from day one to own, manage their own data centers, and that continues on now that Oracle, NetSuite is part of Oracle. And look, once Oracle purchased NetSuite, it really did become a no-brainer to literally stop investing in the NetSuite-owned infrastructure and instead move to Oracle's existing and state-of-the-art facilities. So OCI, yes, it does the foundation of what you'd expect a data center to do. It lays the foundation of compute, of storage, of network resources, of secure transmission, of backups, all that stuff that you pay your license for to ensure the secure and reliable transmission and the storage of your data. But with OCI's Gen 2 cloud, NetSuite can now start working with advanced capabilities that they would otherwise have to start building into their own cloud infrastructure, their own data center infrastructure. So things like adaptive security, different kinds of storage is now available, virtual networking, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, IA. The other big thing, it's all in the cloud now. All the data centers are linked in real time. And that's different from what it used to be. And that means for you and me as well, more efficient rollouts of functionality and fixes. Now, we were promised this when Oracle purchased NetSuite, and apparently it was quite easy to do, but I actually understand the delay in the shift since Oracle's purchase was due to a rethinking of how the infrastructure should work. Initially, they thought the migration to OCI would literally just be a lift and shift approach. And they actually did that, and it was reasonably quick and easy to move all the NetSuite applications onto the cloud platform, onto the OCI platform. But after a couple of months of testing and running these in the cloud data centers, they realized that there was all this new technology that they weren't using because the data and the infrastructure wasn't built to do it. So they stepped back a little bit, and that's what's caused the the delay. They didn't want to move the data to Cloud OCI and it just become another data center. So they've redesigned the infrastructure from the ground up. So they're working out the best way to take advantage of, the myriad of infrastructure as a service and platform as a service technologies. What they're saying to me is that the OCI is more than just a data center now. And I've re-envisioned the future of NetSuite's infrastructure, which can only be good for all of us and hopefully worth the wait. So examples are NetSuite's disaster recovery plan has been rebuilt from the ground up. They now offer multiple domains and the OCI constantly runs an elastic backup platform. They divided customers into a lot more segments. So failure in one part of the OCI won't even be noticed by users in another part. At the moment, all of ANZ, or the vast majority, are on the west coast rather of the US. And when something breaks, that means everyone is down. That's not going to be the case anymore. There'll no longer be ANZ-wide outages. There's millions of transactions that are put through these data centers per day, terabytes of data. That will all be managed a lot more efficiently with these OCI databases. And from that, I've been promised that we should see improved speeds. The OCI has distributed regions, how Oracle has set it up, which will reinforce the provision of on-demand services. Things like maintenance and patching will be at a super convenient window for those of us. And I do know some of our customers, for whatever reason, aren't getting upgraded at 2 o'clock in the morning when they should be. And Andrew's forever on the case to make sure they're in the right time. Well, it's all going to be done locally now and ensured that all the people in the ANZ data centers will be worked on at times that are appropriate for us. The other thing is this blast radius is what they term it. They're really working that the ANZ customers and then segments within the ANZ customers, the blast radius of a incident will be a lot smaller. I guess the final thing really here is that this is Oracle's business. They're committed to deploying the latest, the fastest computing, the best stored technologies. And so that means that NetSuite will no longer be focused on that. They'll be focused on improving the system itself, NetSuite itself, the functionality of NetSuite, the processes, and leave Oracle to make sure that the highest performance machines are being used to store and transmit your data. So Oracle has OCIs all around the world. NetSuite has chosen 12, not 12 regions, 6 regions, and had 2 data centers in each region, I'll explain this in a minute. So what they do is a thing called active pairing. So there's going to be 2 OCI data centers in North America, 2 in South America, 2 in Japan, and 2 in Australia. And these will be actively paired with each other. The slight confusion there is that in Europe, there's actually 4 data centers going in. They've split Europe into 2 regions. So this active pair means that all customers will be on one primary data center. And their data is actively backed up to its peer, and all transmissions to the primary data center in case of emergency can automatically be swapped over to the backup data center. In the ANZ region, where we're all being migrated to, of course, one of the data centers is in Sydney and its active pair is in Melbourne. So that means if your primary data center is in Melbourne, your disaster recovery site is in Sydney, and vice versa. yeah, you can imagine it's taking some time to get the tech right for this. And, we really do not want our data to be in any way compromised and even downtime or anything like that. So they've really taken their time to get this right, but also provide the platform for the future. So yeah, I'm willing to give them the year or two that we've been promised this, and now we're looking at a bright future ahead. And sort of I come from on-premise days, and where ran a company and I had to look after a local area network. What I love about NetSuite is I am paying in the license someone else to do this work for me and to do it really, really well. So yes, as mentioned at the start, the big migration is on. It is happening right now. Soon, no ANZ sites will be hosted in the US. Look, some of you, as I said, will be already migrated. So if you're not sure, you can actually find where your primary data center is in NetSuite. So go into the admin role and go to Setup in the menu structure, Setup, Company Information, and halfway down on the right-hand column, you'll see what data center you are currently in. We are still in Seattle data center as Liberate, but we've been, as I understand, we are going to be migrated in the next few weeks. So for those of you still to be migrated, literally the process begins with an email from NetSuite informing you of the impending move. There'll be notifications coming up, just like with the release previews, telling you the latest upgrade is happening or system maintenance is happening. That migration will always happen over a weekend. And after that, there's actually nothing you need to do. NetSuite will handle the migration. And when you log back in, you'll now be operating from one of the local paired data centers in either Sydney or Melbourne. That's all I just wanted to, because that's one of the biggest things to happen to NetSuite in the last little while. And I know that there's been a lot of emails just asking what these are about, and there's been a lot of chat about it. So I just wanted to spend some time to discuss what the OCI is and why it's happening, and nothing to worry about. In fact, it's going to be nothing but upside and benefits with the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So with that, I'm going to pass you back to Andrew.
Thanks, Paul. And I actually have a great question from Andre, because obviously this information is really focused around our existing customers, and as they do that migration, he's actually in the process of just considering NetSuite as a solution. And I think it's worth saying that every new customer since last year, as they've purchased NetSuite, have automatically gone straight onto the Sydney data center. There won't be a migration for them. Yep.
That's correct. If Andre decides to purchase NetSuite, they will be provisioned onto the Sydney OCI.
Wonderful. And there's a photo of our team, which I'll go through really quickly. Okay, here we are, 22.1 highlights. First up, we've got Mira. Mira, hello. We're going to cover all things general admin and accounting.
Thank you, Andrew. How are you?
Great.
Good stuff. Okay, all right. So let's crack on. And so the first topic that we're going to cover today would be general administration and accounting. So first off, I'd like to talk about the NetSuite upgrade using customer schedule maintenance. Apologies, I meant to insert a screenshot there, which I've missed, but I'll just talk you through it. So in the prior releases, they introduced something called customer schedule maintenance, whereas, probably about a year or 2 years ago, if there was a customer schedule maintenance, you weren't able to actually reschedule it to a date or time that actually suited your business. So in the last year, they've introduced that slowly. In some maintenances, you could actually schedule to a different time. So the new thing that they've added now is your NetSuite upgrade, so meaning the upcoming release. So say, for example, 2022.1. So customers whose production accounts are located in NetSuite data centers, which are built on the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, or the OCI that Paul had just talked about, they will be able to upgrade to the new release using the custom schedule maintenance feature. So administrators whose NetSuite accounts are selected to use this new feature will receive email notifications with the necessary instructions. So again, this only really applies to accounts, which are built on the OCI. So some of you may receive this, some of you may not receive this. If you haven't received this, for now, unfortunately, you won't be able to reschedule your upgrade. The next thing would be pairing standalone intercompany transactions. So in the 2022.1 release, you can pair standalone intercompany credit memos and vendor credits. So you can create a link between the two documents through the paired intercompany transaction field on both the records. And when you do select the field, NetSuite will filter the relevant documents based on the subsidiary, the entity, and also the currency. And there's been some enhancements with electronic bank payment, which you use to make your supplier batch payments. So the first of which is bulk update of payment batches. So you can now add information directly in the EFT file reference note and aggregate by pay columns on the open subtab of the payment batch list. So you can perform this process instead of adding the same information by editing a batch on the bill payment page from the pending approval subtab. You can also exclude transactions from electronic payment processes. So you can exclude any invoice or credit memo from the electronic payment processing by checking the exclude from electronic bank payments processing checkbox. So this box is available on invoices, credit memos, and also sales order records. You can process payments for vendors from primary and also secondary banks. So previously or currently, we can actually only select the primary bank account. However, starting from 2022.1, you can process payments using primary or secondary entity banks. A new entity bank list will be added on the EFT subtab for the following transaction types. We've got supplier bills, supplier bill credit, bill payments, commissions, and also expense reports. So for commission transaction type, the entity bank list will be available on the custom subtab, and the entity bank or the employee list is used for employee commission transactions, and the entity bank or vendor list is used for partner commission transactions. So all of the entity banks of the transaction will be shown on the entity bank list, regardless of their bank type, primary or secondary, and regardless of the subsidiaries as well. So selecting an entity bank at the transaction level will not depend on the EFT bill payment setting on the processing page. The Suite app also includes a new EFT global bill payment processing page. So on this page, you can submit payment files for processing transactions with an entity bank at the transaction level. However, it will transactions that would not be processed on the global bill payment processing page would be transactions where an entity bank is not specified or where an inactive entity bank is selected. You can also process transactions for locked posting periods. So you can post transactions or process payments in locked posting period, but only if you have, or if your role or the role that you're using has the override period restrictions permission, and also if that feature is actually enabled in your account. So if it's not enabled, then the locked period posting will be restricted for the following payment processes, which include bill payments processing or invoice payments processing, payment reversals, rollback and reprocess, batch processes, and EPAPI. And lastly, we've got auto process payment file administration or PFA, which are stuck in queue. So in the new release, there will be a new MapReduce script called auto process queued PFA. And this lets you process payments or any PFA that are stuck in a payment queue. So when the script runs, it will set the status of the stuck PFA to failed and then automatically process the next PFA or payment in the queue. So you can run the script deployment on demand, or you can set a schedule for it to run daily so that you don't actually, because what happens is once one payment is stuck, the rest of them don't get processed. So with this new script, you can ensure that it will set that to failed and carry on with the rest. Alternatively, if you don't want to use the script deployment, you can manually set the status of the stuck PFA to failed, and then it will move on to the next PFA. Thanks, Andrew. One other thing I actually wanted to talk about is the end of month or EOM terms workflow. So this is something that actually came in the last release. So it's a workflow that's been deployed to all customers in a bundle. So it's a new workflow that has been created to fix the 28-day month issue when calculating end of month terms. So this generally applies if you have terms which are net 30. So, you know, if the due date for an invoice, which is dated 31st of January, with a net 30-day term, normally when you entered this invoice in the past, it would automatically calculate the due date to be the 2nd of March, because that's 30 days from 31st of Jan. So, you know, because we've got a short 28-day month in February. However, with this workflow, the due date will automatically be calculated as the 28th of Feb. So it's something that could be quite helpful to ensure that you are getting your payments in time. Moving on, I'd like to talk about, again, another feature which was introduced recently. It's called Payment Link. So this feature will allow your customers to conveniently pay an invoice online via a payment gateway. So you can actually configure this to select certain payment methods. You can allow partial payments. You can include company logo and details, and you can customize the email templates for payment accepted and payment rejected notifications. So if you look on the right there, the screenshot on the right there, you can, so the payment link feature, once enabled, it comes with a standard email template, which has the Pay Now button. So once the payment gateway, once you, organize an online merchant, we can actually go through and install that payment gateway and connect it to to NetSuite and insert a payment link or that Pay Now button into an email, so that when you send out invoices to your customers, they can just click on that button and go through to your online merchant and make the payment accordingly. So this can be, really quite useful and make sure that they are actually paying you regularly. So it can be from a link, or you can also insert a QR code in an email. So on the payment link checkout page, so when they actually go through and click on that Pay Now button, or if they copy the link onto their clipboard or onto a browser, so on the checkout page, they'll be able to review the invoice. So it will show you the invoice date, the invoice number, the amount that is due, pretty much all the useful things that you need to see from an invoice. You've got your payment terms, you've got the status of the invoice, and it'll show you if you've paid any amounts on it already, if there's a history. And it'll also actually show you all the items in the invoice and any discounts, any shipping and handling, any tax, any gift certificates that's been applied to it. So it's actually really quite useful for the customer to be able to see exactly what it is they're paying, so that you don't end up getting a lot of queries. So you can allow partial payments. So if you look at the box on the left where it says payment amount $95.92, they can click Pay Other Amount. If they wanted to only make a partial payment, they can click Pay Other Amount and enter a number that they want to pay. And then you will also obviously need to set up payment methods which they can use. And this again depends on your arrangement with your online merchant and whether you would like to take payments via Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. So all of these payment methods will need to be set up in NetSuite and connected to your payment gateway. So they can review the invoice, they can choose a payment method, and then they can submit the payment. You can also, another thing that's not showing here, but will show in the once they actually go through to the next page, is you can set up to also charge a percentage of your fees. So you can set up to charge that extra 2% merchant fees. And then, sorry, Andrew. And then you can also send out customized emails for payment accepted or payment rejected notifications. So it comes with some standard templates, but you can customize it and make it look how you would like. And then as soon as the payment is accepted, what would happen is an email will be sent out to the customer to say that the payment has been accepted. And then in NetSuite, a payment record will be created against the invoice. So you don't actually need to go back to the invoice in NetSuite and do anything in NetSuite. It will automatically be logged in NetSuite. So if you would like us to actually set the payment link for you, please do let us know and we'll take you through that. And then one last thing I wanted to touch about was Cash 360. So this is actually a new feature that is upcoming. We haven't quite heard about exactly when it's going to be released, but it is coming. It's an automated solution embedded within NetSuite, which can improve forecast accuracy and saving finance departments time by directly accessing NetSuite data. So with Cash 360, NetSuite customers can take advantage of a simplified and accelerated cash flow forecasting process to give them greater confidence in their financial decision making. The first feature would be cash management, which is a new dashboard that can monitor receivables, payables, and available cash in real time to help improve customers improve cash flow visibility. Customers will be able to review their current cash flow trends and also a rolling 6-month cash flow forecast to enable more informed decision making. And the second feature would be cash flow forecasting, which is a new tool that helps customer develop more accurate forecasts by incorporating multiple data points and also applying historical averages to current AR and AP transaction data to estimate your collections and also disbursements. So this configurable solution will enable customers to incorporate one-time cash inflows and outflows like financing or capital investments into the forecasting process, and that will allow them to project their cash needs and also evaluate your company's liquidity position. So this Cash 360 feature will be available free of charge to all customers. So the aim really is to help customers effectively manage cash flow. So it will provide a real-time view of your cash position and the ability to generate fast and accurate near-term forecasts. It'll also simplify your cash management, and you have your configurable dashboard where you can chop and change and include things that actually makes sense to your business that could help you with making better decisions and quicker decisions. You can display reminders of tasks that need to be taken care of. You can see your current cash balance, your AP and AR balances, cash flow trends, and also, like I said before, a rolling 6-month cash flow forecast. So the combination of Cash 360 with other NetSuite capabilities, such as the new automated cash application feature, billing automation, bank recs, approval workflows, and also budget validation, gives businesses added accounting efficiencies, greater control of cash inflows and outflows, and also more flexibility when making financial decisions. And that concludes my section. Were there any questions for me, Andrew?
Yes, we've got one from Marie. Back to the payment link. She was wondering, do we set that by customer, or is it more of a global setting?
It is a global setting. Yeah, so it is actually a global setting, and you basically you have to set up your payment gateway, your payment methods, and then set it up as a company, really. And what it does is whenever you generate an invoice, it would automatically insert a URL link into the invoice record in NetSuite, and that is what is used as the link in the invoice, in the email when you send it out to your customer.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mira. Right. You've got the driest topic, I think. So well done. I think the payment link is really going to help our customers get paid a lot sooner, right? Once it's all set up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people do prefer paying by credit card these days, actually.
Yeah, they like those points as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Mira. Thanks so much for presenting today. We're going to swap over to Brett now. Brett, g'day.
Good afternoon. Hello.
I will hand over to you, mate. Inventory management.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, NetSuite Inventory Management. So let's have a look at the features that we'll be going through this afternoon. So what we've got is we have a new supply allocation pop-up window, chain control tower enhancements, supply planning enhancements, warehouse enhancements, and new on-demand inspection queue capabilities and quality management, and various quality management enhancements. So new supply allocation pop-up. On supply order lines such as purchase orders, transfer orders, or works orders, the allocated demand figure links to a new pop-up window. This pop-up window displays the details of each allocated demand order. On inventory lines, the allocated demand figure links to a window which displays the details of each allocated demand order. On demand order lines such as sales orders, transfer orders, or works orders, the allocated supply figure links to a pop-up window. This pop-up window displays allocated sources of supply details. Sources of supply can be inventory or supply orders, and the allocated supply details where the supply is missing or where it's delayed. Next screen, please. Vendor performance. To improve vendor performance analysis, you can now create a vendor performance history list that is based on a system note saved search. You can create a new reminder by adding the custom save search to negative vendor performance changes. This information helps purchasing managers improve their vendor management. And this builds on a feature that was released in 2021.1. It's the predicted risk features, and that adds a score to the vendor record. So this is building upon this functionality. Next screen. Vendor delivery performance scores. These are available when creating purchase orders. So releasing orders from the order items page, releasing orders from the order reservation page, and clicking the vendor performance link opens a vendor list that displays late delivery scores based on historic transactional analysis. A similar link from an item on the order release page displays the item record vendor list with late delivery scores. And this is based on historical transactions. Screen. Approval risk assessment. So this is risk assessing before approval to invoke a late delivery prediction calculation for each purchase order. You click the Get Prediction button before sending the order to the approver or the vendor. The late delivery prediction is calculated using purchase delivery history, which is a self-learning algorithm that analyzes a complex set of transactional parameters. You can review new order predictions from the supply chain control tower dashboard, the predicted risks portlet, and under the late purchase orders tab. Based on the predicted risk, you can reformulate your purchase order by changing vendor or altering the requested date. Of note too also is that if you have orders or you have transactions that you wish to be excluded from this analysis, you can actually flag them. And so the late delivery also is calculated on the receipt date versus the expected delivery date. Supply planning enhancements. So supply planning enhancements, there's a few little additions to each of the screens. A planning workbench view has now been added. And this creates a default set of criteria for the view. So that's nice to be able to swap between the screen. The vendor name now appears on the supply detail panel under the source field. It's useful. It also details the vendor as a preferred vendor if it's a planned order. And of course, it's the actual vendor if it's a firmed purchase order. And this is a welcome addition. So they've added the item description, which is now included on all workbench panel details. And as you can see, it's a combination of the item and the name. So they've concatenated that field to save on extra space. And we have the safety stock figure added. So this has been added to the workbench date-based grid view. And it's been put in the past due field. So we can now have reference our safety stock. New planning workbench view filters. This release enables you to create a saved planning workbench view, which can include preset filters and an embedded item saved search. The item saved search can include item related criteria such as location and preferred supplier. You can use safe searches to filter the planning workbench results for the item preferred supplier. This enables the planner or the buyer to view all related planning data for that specific supplier. You can also use create a safe search that filters for any item custom fields that you may have created. NetSuite WMS. So just a quick reminder of who the ideal profile businesses are for NetSuite WMS. So WMS is ideally suited for wholesale distribution, manufacturing, retail, or general businesses. It's product-based companies with inventory to store and fulfill orders. Cost-conscious, and wanting systemic support. Due desire to move from paper processing or old custom solutions, and it's customers who are really primarily concerned with inventory accuracy, order fulfillment rates, and traceability of products, and companies wanting to utilize barcoding, RF, and mobile devices, and to track lot and serial numbered products. And this also incorporates configuration of efficient picking and put away logic. So the enhancements to WMS in this round, we have schedule release of multiple waves, we have zone picking for single and multiple orders, and we have pick carton reuse. Bulk load options to transfer staged items into carts, item label printing on search inventory, and tally scanning support for additional mobile processes. So let's have a look at those features. So the schedule release of multiple waves. The WMS wave release schedule page contains the following new fields. Generate multiple waves. It's highlighted in the box on the left. If you check this box, you can generate up to 500 waves for each scheduled release. And this helps with efficiency of process and processing in the background. When the box is checked, your wave order limit must always be greater than or equal to 1. You can enter the maximum number of waves that you want to generate for each scheduled release, and this number can be between 1 to 500. Zone picking for single and multiple orders. In 2022.1, it provides the following system rules that enable you to select one or more zones from which you want to pick items. Enable zone picking for single orders supports the pick and merge picking type for single orders. It includes the setting to require staging of all items from an order in the same bin. Enable zone picking for multiple orders supports the pick and merge picking type for multiple orders. It contains the settings that let you stage items per order. It also includes the settings that require staging of all items from an order in the same bin. On your mobile device, you can select the first bin used to stage the picked items for an order. In the list of staging bins, this bin appears with an asterisk beside its name. Next slide, please. And this is a screenshot of an example of what I've just been talking about. We see how pickers can choose the outbound staging bin for the location in the first pick. After that, it's enforced for the remaining tasks. And this is how we bring the order back together when it's finally combined. Pick carton reuse. So the ability to reuse pick cartons. If you activate a use carton rule, you can use and reuse pick cartons for orders that you process on a mobile device. To reuse, you must pack all the items in the pick carton. The fulfillment record associated with these items must be in a pack status. Bulk load option to transfer staged items into carts. So here we have a rule that you can activate to enable bulk loading into staging to transfer multiple items for put away into a cart. On your mobile device, you can select and process up to 10 items at a time, and these are moved in bulk. Item label printing on search inventory. So from your mobile device, you can now search for items and print item labels for numbered items. You can print item labels with lot and serial numbers. So this is not tied to transaction, it's as required. Tally scanning support for additional mobile processes. So tally scanning now supports the following mobile processes. It supports bin put away, bin transfer, inventory transfer, cycle counts, and returns. And with this, you can tally scan the item name, an alias, and the UPC code associated with the item. Quality management. So on-demand inspection queue capability on quality management. You can now trigger an inspection queue on demand with or without reference to a NetSuite transaction. Quality Management Suite app provides enhanced quality control with ad hoc inspection queues in which you can manually trigger to inspect items. You can create the following types of ad hoc inspection queues. So you can create a queue without a transaction reference to inspect an item before you receive it in inventory with reference to a parent or an inventory transaction, or with a different inspection transaction after rework. And then a queue without a transaction reference to inspect an item on a shelf or an inventory at any time. And this is also compatible and works with WMS. Quality management enhancements. So there's two enhancements here. There's new saved searches and there's new workflows. On the next screen, we'll see a list of the saved searches. Yep, that's the one. So there's a variety of new saved searches, and they include saved searches for inspections results, inspection details, inspector queue management assignment, and reported values, check values, amongst others. And on the workflows, there's a few new workflows, and they include workflows that include scorecard updates and email failure alerts. So welcome additions. And that's a view of the inventory management enhancements in 2022.1.
Nice, Brett.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sadly, I have no questions for you at this stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
But
thank you.
That's all right. Thanks very much. Really
if anybody has any questions they think of later, feel free to send.
Good stuff. Thanks so much. Mr. Paul Matthews, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Hello, thank you, Andrew. And thank you, Brett.
Yeah, we are going to talk all things project management and SuiteAnalytics by the looks of things.
Andrew, when we were setting this up, you said you were going to spring us all with a question, but you've avoided that. So I'll quickly skip on.
I thought I'd go easy on you all.
Okay, projects and SuiteAnalytics. So what's coming in the 2022.1 release? So Mira talked about Cache 360. So in projects, there is also Project 360. There's the little, just one liner there. The new dashboard within NetSuite Suite projects brings in additional layer of visibility and reporting enhancements across projects. There is some freely available reading material on this. As Mira outlined, we're not exactly sure when this is coming, but it is coming shortly. So keep your eyes out for that. I think the rough plan is that we'll cover these in more details when they come out or when they're close to coming out, so we can go through these with everybody who's interested. If you want to flick on, Andrew. I think you've gone to.
Indeed, I have.
Thank you. That's right. That's right. No, it's easy done. So project enhancements. So there is what's called advanced project budgets. So for those people that use projects, this will be a welcome addition. So there's additional budget feature has been added. So what they've done is split it up. So you have what's called a baseline budget, and you have what NetSuite have called an estimate at completion budget, or if you read any of the release notes and documentation, it just refers to them as EAC. So as you can see on the screen there, pretty basic in terms of on your work breakdown structure, there's a little button there you'll see, because the buttons have been relabeled and reorganized a bit. So the one on the left there's a set as baseline budget. And you'll have to excuse my fairly limited kind of data that I put in there just to create that. And then on the right-hand one, the screenshot there is the set is the EAC budget. So the idea is that you set the baseline, and then you can revise your EAC as you go through. And as you can see, I did a fairly limited or fairly basic example, and I gave my EAC budget a name of just working budget. So what that then leads you onto, which Andrew flicked onto rather quickly, but that's all right. And again, apologies for the fairly limited screenshots. What you'll see in that top screenshot there is you have on the project itself, it opens up more tabs. So you have an EAC budget tab, and you've got the baseline, got to be careful with these words, the baseline budget tab, which follows the line of my work breakdown structure and tasks there. And what you also have is that budget history. So kind of standard NetSuite in terms of it shows all the changes that have been done to each budget, who did it and when and what it changed to, etc. But of course, the addition of all this, or the welcome addition on top of all that, is that there's some standard reports that have been introduced just in terms of the standard project reporting. So under project profitability reports, you've got all these comparisons of baseline to the EAC to the actuals at all different levels. As you can see there, I just grabbed that screenshot of what becomes available in standard NetSuite. If you'd like to flick on, Andrew. Okay, the other a major thing that's come out within projects is intercompany I can't even speak properly, the intercompany project cross-charging. So an area that never had, and your phone always rings at the wrong minute, doesn't it? So what you never had previously up until this stage was any kind of intercompany transactions going on within projects. So this creates the ability to create a posting in one subsidiary from one project to another subsidiary based on what NetSuite are calling a trigger. And based on that trigger, which I'll just talk about in that screenshot below in a second, an advanced intercompany journal is created. So what you do, as you can see on that screen, when you've got your intercompany framework enabled, you get this option under transactions, and basically you set up the rules. So the project is the top there. It's going what project, from which subsidiary, to which subsidiary, and you put in an amount. So all it's doing is doing a cross charge. It's not doing any kind of cross project. So then it's got what NetSuite are calling these trigger points. So currently, or initially, you've got these 3 trigger points. So you've got a date. So if you click on the date, I didn't put all these in because they're fairly self-evident. If you click on the date, you just get a date selection box. So you decide what date that it will create this transaction. You've got project completion. So that's based on the status of the project. And then you've also got project task / milestone completion. That then opens another box that says, okay, what's the project task or what's the milestone completion that this is driven off? Appreciate with this that it's fairly kind of detailed and fairly, the people who use it won't be a huge audience, but this is good stuff and probably long awaited in terms of that intercompany from projects. Okay, that was the 2 major enhancements coming out within projects in 2022. So second topic I'm going to talk about is SuiteAnalytics, kind of a slight tangent. So enhancements in 2022.1. So for those that use analytics, and I would advise everybody to at least have a look at it, be using it, data set linking in the UI. So in the last release of 2021.2, data linking between 2 separate data sets became available, but what you couldn't do, or what it only allowed you to do, it could only be linked via some scripting. But now in this release, you can link it in the UI, and there is a screenshot in a second that we'll go through. So you can link 2 data sets from 2 record types that even do not have any common keys between them. To link the separate data sets, you must have at least one common field, and a screenshot I'll show you in a second does that. You can also link, which I thought was pretty cool, is to link different levels of aggregation between the 2 data sets. Now, there's a lot of words here for people if they don't use analytics, but in other words, I could link a data set that looks at a transactional level to a data set that is grouping my transactions up. And now seems to be the time where everybody wants to get hold of me. So I apologize if you're hearing some beeping. Look, there's a couple other new features coming out in the release for SuiteAnalytics. So just touch on them for those that do use SuiteAnalytics. The static data model is now available for the NetSuite 2.com data source. If that means nothing to you, that's fine. But for those that do, be relevant. And if you're using SuiteAnalytics Connect and the NetSuite 2.com data sources, you can use a records catalog to find information and search for your record types, fields, and your join properties. So that is having used the SuiteAnalytics Connect. Wish I'd used the records catalog because it took me a while to find some of the stuff. So that oh yes, and the data linking in the UI. So here's an example of, fairly simplistic example, but it's just taking two distinct data sets, for those again that know SuiteAnalytics. And this is just used the example. Yes, I pinched the example from somewhere else, but just using the email field to link those together. And it can be done in the UI, as I said, and that's out. So really good. And I think, Andrew, that's my cue.
That is it, Paul Matthews. Fantastic. Thanks very much.
No problem.
I think those joining of the two data sets can be quite useful if you want to, create pivot tables of data.
Yes.
This year versus last year and all those sorts of things that seem to be pretty easy in Safe Searches, but were difficult in SuiteAnalytics up to now.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Good, sir. Okay, we are now moving on to some customizations. So that covers the release. I think, there's a lot that's gone into Projects 360 and Cache 360. As the team announced, we're just waiting on those to be released as a suite bundle, so not necessarily installed as part of the new release, but we're expecting those to come out very, very soon. So thanks everyone for doing the research around the release notes and covering all that. It's a really good overview, really appreciate it. Okay, customizations. So we have done a few customizations of late, and we thought, well, this is a great opportunity to talk about those. So I am going to invite Simon and Mira in, and we can talk about supplier statement reconciliation, Mira.
Great, thanks again, Andrew. Hi again, everyone. So today I'd like to showcase one of our most recent customizations, which I think could be quite useful for a lot of customers, and we call it the supplier statement reconciliation. So generally, what happens with the accounts payables person is that you'll get a statement from your supplier, you'll print out an ATB for your AP with a list of all the bills for that specific supplier, and you look at your statement and you'll mark off all the invoices that you've entered or supplier bills that you've entered into NetSuite, and make sure that all the totals match and you have the same number and same amounts, and ensure that you are paying the correct amount. So all of that is, is fairly manual, and there isn't a functionality in NetSuite that you can use out of the box to reconcile the supplier statements. I mean, it's quite an important thing to do, really, because you don't want to be paying your supplier any more than you have to. So with this new feature, we have actually created a SuiteAnalytics page, which enables you to reconcile your supplier bill and supplier credits against the monthly statement. So you can go to SuiteAnalytics and put your supplier in. So there are some filter parameters up there. So you can put your supplier in, you can put your supplier bill start date and supplier bill end date, which means that you will only see bills for those dates and for that supplier. You can include zero balances. Where that could be quite useful is if you have any bill credits that you've already applied against a bill. So you can see that on line 4 and 5 down the bottom in the list. So both of them have been paid because they've been applied against each other, but it's still quite useful to see because they will still appear on the statement. And you can mark the transactions as reconciled so that they are not included in more than one statement. So it will automatically add up the number of invoices or bills, and also so it'll show you the number of transaction in your top right there. It'll show you the total statement amount and total statement balance. You can so in the general subtab there, you can enter a reference. So in this instance, I've put in main freight February 2022, and it's showing us 7 entries. So what happens now is we'll click submit. So we're happy. Okay, I've got 7 bills, and that's what the statement says. The amount matches my statement. So I'm happy with this. I will go through and submit it. And what will happen is it will create a record of reconciliation with that statement reference for you. So the next thing that will happen is you can actually, so it will go through and do that for you. So that's done for this month. So when you rerun run again for the next month, you can actually view previously reconciled statements in case, you know, you had any discrepancy. Someone came back and said, okay, actually you've missed a bill or missed a credit. You can actually go back and see what you've done in your reconciliation. So you go back to the same SuiteAnalytics page, and where it says statement reference under the include zero balances, you can select the reference that you've entered, and it will display everything that was reconciled in that statement. So you can also view the reconciliation details on the transaction itself. So under the related records subtab of the bill, there'll be a list called supplier bill recon, and that will list out all of the statements that this particular transaction has been reconciled in. So doing all of this will ensure that your supplier bills are not actually being entered or paid more than once. So that it was actually the supplier statement reconciliation. So it was actually, sorry, it was actually a very quick explanation of how it works, but it's pretty much as simple as that, really. So if you'd like to discuss that a little bit more and how it might be useful for you, let us know, and we can actually take you through that in much more detail. We can do a demo for you and show that a little bit more. Moving on to our next topic today, which is the CapEx project management and reporting. So this is actually a process that we've created, a feature that we've created, and it includes several different elements. And the aim of this process really is to manage your capital expenditure using projects, and then to also manage your CapEx as WIP amounts, and then eventually capitalize them and create fixed assets from them, and be able to view all of that data within a project record. So you can actually see where your project is at. You can set your budgets and your spends and see what's been capitalized, what's still sitting on WIP. So all of that might actually be useful for someone who's actually managing projects in your team. So you can manage capital expenditure for ongoing projects as work in progress or WIP. You can, so this uses basic projects. So that feature is actually available to all customers and it's free of charge. So everyone can actually use this. You don't have to have advanced projects. So some of the custom fields that we have added to the project report there that you can say, we've got CapEx total budget. So that's something that you would enter when you create the project, and you'd enter the budget that you have for that project. The CapEx total spend, so that will automatically pick up the totals based on the transactions that have been linked to the project. Your total budget remaining, so that's just the difference between budget and spend. Your forecast, if in the future, say a year down the track, you want to do another forecast for this project, you can actually enter that manually again. And then we've got forecast versus budget remaining variance. That's just a simple plus minus formula. And then it'll also show you any transactions that have been capitalized to date and what is still remaining in your CapEx WIP. So following that, so you can, when you actually enter, so once the project has been created and you've entered your budget and any other details that you need to, the next thing that happens is you will enter the transactions. So when you enter a supplier bill, you can enter it as an item or an expense, and you can link the customer or the project within the transaction. So when you actually link that project into the transaction, that will also reflect back in the project. Another SuiteAnalytics that we have also built is a custom SuiteAnalytics called Journal Generator. And what this SuiteAnalytics does is it will pick up all transactions that have been coded to your Capital WIP GL account and create journals when you are ready to recode it, to move it from your CapEx WIP account to your fixed asset account. So in the journal generator there, as you can see, you can, under the filter parameters subtab, you can see that you can choose the project. You can choose your clearing account, so whichever WIP account that you've created. So, you know, it might just be one WIP account, or you might have one WIP account per capital, per fixed asset type. So if you've got furniture and fittings, and then you've got perhaps land and buildings, then you can create 2 different WIP accounts for that as well, and that's fine. So you can select which ones will appear under that clearing account filter, and you can filter by that. And once you've actually entered your filter parameters, it will display all the transactions that are related to that project. And from here, you can select which transaction it is that you'd like to move out of WIP and into your fixed asset. So the date at the top under the general subtab, so that date will be the date that the journal will be generated or created, and then the asset account is where it will be debited into. The source transaction or the supplier bill will be recorded on the journal entry. So that's the screenshot at the bottom. So you can see the source transaction, and you'll be able to see, okay, so this was a journal that was created from this bill. And you can see that the fixed assets account has been debited and the capital WIP account has been credited. And the project record is also tagged within the line items in that journal there. And then the journal entry number will also be recorded on the supplier bill. So if you actually ever go back to the supplier bill, you can actually see, okay, this was a bill that was entered into your capital WIP account, and now it has a journal entry number against it, which means it's been capitalized. And then so following this, once your journal has been created, we now have a transaction that's actually where it has debited an amount into your fixed asset GL account. So you can just go through and use your regular asset proposal function in the fixed asset management module to go ahead and just create new assets from that journal entry as you would normally do. So following all of those transactions that's just happened, you can actually view all your expenses from the project record, because you are tagging that project within the supplier bill, for example. And also the journals there where the projects are automatically tagged. So you can see that under the related records expenses, you can see that there's a couple of bills that's been entered, and then one of the bills that shows your journal entry to show that it has been capitalized, and then the journal also shows your source transaction. So custom fields, all the custom fields where we talked about before, your total spend, your capitalized to date, CapEx WIP, all of that will be automatically updated. And those are the fields that will be used to create some project reporting. I've shown you there an example of what the project report could look like. We've got your project name, the status, your start and end dates if you want to use those fields. You've got your budget, what's still sitting in WIP, $500. You've capitalized $15,000, and the total that you've spent on this project for now is $15,500, and in your budget you've got another $9,500 remaining. So that basically concludes the CapEx project management and reporting feature. If you think this is something that might be useful in your business, and it gives you a nice view of where your projects are at, and you'd like to be able to record all of that capital expenditure and the flow of that expenditure going from your WIP, being attached to your project, and then finally being capitalized and then creating an asset from it, you might actually find all of this useful. So do let us know if you'd like to see this in a bit more detail, and we'll again take you through the demo. And that's me. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Vera. I've got a couple of questions before you go.
Sure.
Oh, you were just about to switch off too. Hey, with the CapEx one that we're looking at right now, someone was just asking, how do you access projects? They haven't seen that in their account. I suspect that's not enabled.
Yeah, that's right. So it's just under setup company enable features. I think it's under the general tab, really. So it just needs to be enabled.
Great. And preferably in a sandbox first, no doubt.
Yes, yes, that's right. Because it does add. So how projects are treated within NetSuite is that they're treated as almost like child customers. So the project name generally is attached to a customer. So the customer is treated as as the parent, and then you create a project which behaves similar to a child customer. And that's
great. Cool. Getting back to the first one, the statement reconciliation piece. I've just got a question asking, what do you do if you're missing a bill? Do you have to exit then come back another time when you have the bill? So you'd still need to check the supply statement first.
No, you don't have to. I can't actually remember, to be honest. Sorry, I'll have to double check on that, whether you can submit it and come back and submit to the same one again. So
No
sorry, I don't have an answer for that right now, but I can find out and let you know.
That's okay. That's from an anonymous attendee. So if you could just email me on that one, I'll make sure that we get that answer to you.
Right.
Mira, that's it for your Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Simon, welcome to the webinar. At long last, here you are.
A long way, Andrew, but thank you.
It was.
So what we'll go through here is just a version of the grid order matrix that we've created. So NetSuite has its own grid order entry screens, but for a client of mine, we did our own. So the ability here would be to a button on either a sales order, purchase order, quote, whatever it might be, and you would be taken into the screen, as you can see here. Now, if you're using matrix items, traditionally you would have, let's say, a t-shirt, and you might range that in different sizes. And I guess the cool thing here is you could select, in this instance, the style and the color, and instead of manually keying in, the customer wants 1 of large, 5 of medium, and 6 of small, and 10 of extra large. What you can do here is in this screen is actually to type the quantities against the color of the t-shirt and the size. And when you hit the add items button, it basically adds 4 lines to the transaction screen. I guess the cool thing here is that instead of you typing out t-shirt, LA, black, medium black 4 times and doing all that sort of stuff, you can actually do that in the little pop-up grid entry screen here. I've used t-shirts, but if you're manufacturing a different product with multiple attributes such as colors and sizes, this is a very quick way to raise purchase orders or sales orders when you're taking these things in. And if you've got pricing stored against the products, then it would all default on the line level as per NetSuite. So in the next screen, we're going to go into, for a client, we've actually people who manufacture products. So in this instance, I want to manufacture a hat, and I want to manufacture 3 different colors in 2 different sizes. The traditional way would be I would have to manually create an order for the black small, and then I have to manually create another work order for the black medium, and so on. What this screen allows you to do is to select the parent code, which in this case is the hat, and then enter quantities against the different colors and the different sizes. And what NetSuite will do now is to generate multiple work orders, basically 1 for each combination of the color and the size. Again, it's a bit of time saving. I don't have to manually create work orders, in this instance, for 6 of them. This one screen will generate 6 work orders because that's what this screen is designed to do. Again, this is just a basic example for a hat, and but it could be taken as far as long as you're using matrix items, then you're selecting the parent code. All the linked children in that sense are being displayed here. If I don't want to enter, let's say the black mediums, I don't enter a quantity in there, and it will only generate 5 work orders. There's lots more to this, and I'm sure if there are any questions, I can take those, or I can do some demos if you want me to. So that's me, Andrew. Short but sweet.
Nice, short and very sweet, Simon. Thanks, mate. That just looks like it makes a whole lot of sense, right? That suite that you guys have created. It's just simple and straightforward, rather than having to dig into copying each line item. That's fantastic, man. Really appreciate it. Well, you're welcome. That wraps us up. Let me just put my camera on. Why not? That wraps us up for our webinar today. Stick with me if you're new to NetSuite, you're keen to learn a little bit more about hey, what does that release process look like from NetSuite? You're keen to learn a little bit more. But if you've been with us for some time and know all that sort of thing, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the contributors today. They basically need to take time out of their busy schedule to prepare all that information for you. So big hats off to all the consulting team and of course Paul Beattie. Really appreciate your efforts there. I will just wait a second and then I will move straight into the release process, if you like. I'll try not to take it personally as I see the attendee list go down. Okay, fantastic, awesome. All right, well, I'll go through the preparing for a new release. Thanks for sticking with me, really appreciate it. I won't labor these points, I'll go through it. Like I mentioned in the Q&A, if you want the slide deck, you just want to have a brief overview of what we're presenting today, happy to shoot that through to you, but also double check the website. Within a week, we'll have this all up online. Okay, so I am just going to go through a little bit about the schedule release program and talk about that, what resources you've got available, and just take you through that release preview environment and why you'd want to use that. Okay, so NetSuite, multi-tenanted cloud-based solution, which is very fancy to say. Look, they use one program to release to all their clients right across the world. The good thing about that is everyone's on the same version, generally speaking. NetSuite do upgrade in batches, as we talked about earlier. And NetSuite work really hard to ensure that those upgrades are seamless and making sure that all 28,000 customers across the world are on the same version. So what I like about NetSuite in particular, when I first joined working with NetSuite, say 6 years ago, was even if you customize NetSuite, so some of the things that we just saw with Mira and Simon presenting, those upgrade along with NetSuite. Like there's no being left behind when you're going through the upgrade process. So we in NetSuite also believe in upgrading often and having only a small impact to the customers when they do that. So that just lowers that cost of ownership. There's not a lot of scurrying about trying to find the resources available to do all the infrastructure changes that might be required for an upgrade of software. And, you know, I guess we're all very used to this world now, but NetSuite were the market leaders in all this. So making upgrades routine. Okay, so we have 2 releases every year, roughly Q1, which covers February, March, April, and Q3, which is August, September, October. They have released right across the globe. So the customers here in New Zealand and Australia are on the same version as those off in the US, which is great. And they do that in phases. So the phasing is really just there just to make sure that should there be anything go wrong, I haven't experienced this yet, but if it does, then they're only impacting a small number of customers. So typically there's a small handful in this region that go in Feb, a small handful in this region that go in March, and then the bulk come across in mid-April. Typically this happens overnight, Friday night, Saturday morning for all of our customers. Now, upgrade times do vary. It's good to log in on the new release portal and find out exactly when your upgrade is taking. I'll show you a few screenshots of that in a second. So, you know, the good news is, yes, you're paying a subscription to NetSuite, so you're always getting the latest features. You know, you don't have to, in 5 years' time, go out and buy another software product because it's now 5 years old. It's only ever 6 months old. Important note there, a bit like that projects question that came through earlier, all new functionality, not that projects is new, but all new functionality is provisioned to be switched off. So that means the business disruption is kept to a minimum whenever NetSuite do a new release. And I found that that'd be quite successful. What I've also found, however, though, is I can sometimes speak to customers where they feel like, hey, this hasn't really changed to me much over the years. because they haven't taken advantage of these webinars or read the release notes. So please do just be aware of that. If there's anything that we've mentioned today that you're going, aha, that might actually be interesting to me, do go ahead and do a bit more reading around that. If you need some help from us or the consulting team, by us, I mean the support desk, do let me know and love to help you out. In our experience, where things have gone wrong with the upgrade process is occasionally data format changes have happened. That sneaky US date format does occasionally get in there, even though you might be set up for, the ANZ date format. So that has sometimes gone wrong. If you've got a manual process or transition, that can sometimes break. Scripts can sometimes break as they upgrade the code base behind the scenes along the same lines with workflows. And some integrations break as the APIs change and evolve and deprecate some old things. So NetSuite do a very good job of letting you know, hey, in 6 months' time, this piece will be deprecated. But obviously, we understand that not all of our customers focus in on that. You're focused on running your business day to day. So what we try and do is make sure that you're aware of those things as well. Happy to say that there haven't been many of those or any of those in the last couple of releases, but it is critical that NetSuite upgrade their code base over the years to make sure that they're staying on top of things. And Suite Apps, so if you've bought a third-party solution directly from them, at times they might find that Suite App breaks. Do get in touch with that Suite App provider, but also us, just to let us know that that's happened and we can advocate on your behalf for them as well. Okay, so how do we prepare? So generally speaking, 6 weeks before the release, NetSuite will email you if you're an administrator. If you're not, just make sure that you do have someone in the business they haven't left and you haven't let NetSuite know or let us know. Do let us know that, and we can make sure that you're continuing to get those emails directly from NetSuite. And if you're logging in to NetSuite as an administrator role, you'll get a pop-up message just letting you know that, hey, this is what's happening and by when. And NetSuite released the new release portlet. I generally hide that for a couple of months of the year, but then have that very visible, around this time, just to make sure that I'm across everything that's going on with the new release. And hey, and of course we do the 2 yearly customer event, which is actually this one as well, just to make sure that you're across that event. So this is the new release portlet. You can just customize your dashboard and drag that down. I've got it's just sitting at the top center there, and you have a few bits of information at the top where NetSuite are just promoting themselves. So obviously you can see Project 360 and Cache 360 is something they're promoting heavily. We're just light on detail at the moment, but word on the street is next month that will come to us, but conditions apply, of course. Okay, so that's what the release preview looks like. Over in the right-hand corner, you've got the detail as it relates to you. So this is our screenshot. We're upgrading mid-April, and we will be told what the date and time of that is 3 weeks prior to that upgrade happening. If you're on the OCI, you can also choose the dates around that upgrade phase. And if you're not on the Sydney data center yet, I'm more than happy for you to let me know, and we can request an early move. But as far as I know, that's it. We'll get you on the radar. But if it's business critical to you, we can certainly speed that up. And we'll be going through that release preview process as well. I'll be going through that in just a second. Okay. All right. So sneak peeks. And in this release, interestingly enough, the 22.1 overview, which is in the left-hand corner, they're both the same this time around. So the sneak peeks is just a way for NetSuite to launch you into another screen and just give you an overview of, hey, these are the business benefits that we think we're going to achieve by the latest release. So do check those out. It's a really nice snapshot to go, look, I'm busy. I don't have any time to read the release preview. And I'm not going to watch the Liberate IT webinar. So jump in there. If there's anything of interest to you, do reach out to me and we can make sure that you're across all all of that. The release notes, this is where our team actually do a lot of research and investigation on that. It's also a PDF, but also in Suite Answers, and you can go into all the minute details around the release that you need to be across. And so it just covers the differences between this and the last one. Now, you think that as I'm in charge of my own slide deck, it would update the same pace as I wanted to, but here we go. Okay, so release preview login. So great feature of NetSuite that I found in that NetSuite will allow you to create a copy of your production database or your live database and bring a copy over in a separate environment in the new version. So great opportunity for you to do a complete end-to-end test of some of those areas that I mentioned earlier in terms of what could potentially go wrong. So, you know, customizations, custom workflows, those sorts of things would be areas, and integrations, they'd be the areas that I would have a particular focus on. So a backup is requested by you within the environment, and then that will take a couple of days to be provided to you, and then away you go. You can start that testing. Okay, key point to remember is that yes, it's available shortly before your release upgrade, and it's there for a couple of weeks after. But bear in mind, if you're using it for a bit of testing or something else, which you're absolutely free to do, just remember that will go without warning once you're in the new environment. So there won't be any notification or anything. One day it will just disappear. So just be aware of that. That's something to be quite mindful of. And obviously, in any testing that you do, you want to make sure that your customers aren't receiving any emails. So just make sure that that's all addressed there as well. What's new-ish is that, look, if you're wanting a copy of the release preview taken from your sandbox environment, if you have one, rather than your live environment, you can do that now as well. So how to opt in for the release preview account. Many years ago, NetSuite used to make this available for absolutely everybody. What they've found is a lot of customers didn't actually take them up on this, and so there was a lot of infrastructure work being done by the NetSuite team. So now we've got an opt-in process, so I would really encourage you to do that. And you can do that through the screen here on the right in the release overview. You can go in there and go through and request that release preview. So if you're in your live environment, and that's the one that you want to get a copy of, you do that in there. If you actually want it from your sandbox, you actually need to log into your sandbox and request it from in there. All right. And typically it takes 24 to 48 hours for that role to appear in your roles list. So it will just have a little RP. I think my next slide will show that in your list of roles. If you've got a sandbox, that will be SB, and you can, there you go, there's your RP at the end there. So important to know that when you first log into your release preview account, would really encourage you just to change the color coding of that, just to keep that completely separate from your production account. I know what it's like to be in multiple accounts and trying to do multiple things at once, and it's quite easy to make a mistake in working out which environment you're in at any given time. So do go in under set preferences, under appearances, just change the default color scheme of your release preview account, and you'll make that easy for yourself down the track. Okay. Okay, some release preview pointers. Integrations need to point to the correct endpoint. Obviously, if you're testing some integration, you need to have that separate environment point to the release preview account rather than production. You'll notice that the performance will be slower when you're first starting to use it. It's just the way that the databases work until they're starting to get used. There's extra resources being applied to that. So be patient with it when you're starting that testing. If you have taken the snapshot of your production environment, it's now in your release preview, and you go, oh, now I've made some changes in production and I really like that tested in the release preview. Look, unfortunately, you can't. They are just locked in time. They're completely separate. And there's no request process with NetSuite to do a refresh on those, unfortunately. So just be mindful of that. Bundles, if you're familiar with those, they can't be installed between production and release preview. Again, they're very separate environments. And not all bundles are actually available in the release preview as well. So that's can be a bit of a tricky one. Okay, so hey, you might go, well, that's good, and thanks Liberate for taking us through there, but there were some things that we just showed as screenshots, and I want to have a bit more deep dive into certain sections. NetSuite have you covered there. So under the release portlet, down the bottom right is training resources. That will actually just take you to SuiteAnswers. In the SuiteAnswers videos, there is in the top left-hand corner the 21.2 new feature previews. They're about 30 minutes each of NetSuite, actually just taking you through a deep dive into some of those. So by all means, you don't need to watch all of those. You know, I'm pretty sure none of you really care too much about Suite Tax VAT 100 reporting enhancements, but you might be interested in you know, learning more about the automated cash application feature. So that was from the last release, but trust me, if you go into it live right now, you'll see a 22.1 as well there as well. Time for me to update that slide, sorry. Okay, so when you're actually in one of those training videos, what I really like about that is NetSuite have done those as live webinars. There'll be a bunch of Q&A from different customers that are asking about that. You can actually grab those Q&A and see what answers NetSuite have already given around that as well. So no doubt you'll have the same questions as a bunch of other people. So do check that out. They're really good. I really do enjoy those. Okay, so the release preview guide is just a way, a document to actually take you through, hey, this is best practice around preparing yourself for the next release. So depending on your organization, I know some that have chosen not to worry about that because year in, year out, it all goes very smoothly, and it does. And that's fine until something does go wrong. And then, you know, you're in a situation where you're in a live environment and your business stops as a result. So would really strongly suggest to you that you do actually set up a process whereby you're actually in the release preview account doing end-to-end testing of some of the key areas. And you might go, well, what are the key areas, Andrew? Well, NetSuite have you covered for that too. They've got a review test plan template, which is an Excel document that you're able to run through, and you're able to grab that through the release preview guide. So as I wait for the screen to refresh, it's a great way just to follow a process, make sure that you've got all of those key business processes captured and documented the fact that they're passed. Now, there's obviously opportunity for you to update those as well and make sure that anything that's custom directly for you, you've got that all nailed away. Now, you know, you might want to prioritize, obviously, what is the greatest risk to you. For example, not being able to fulfill orders or even capture orders might be a key thing that you just want to do a quick end-to-end test in that release preview account. Make sure that everything's just working okay. So have a download of that, review that, make sure it's relevant to you. There's nothing less motivating than having someone go through a 200-page test plan and you know, most of it's not of value to you. Do just make sure it's got context and look, with these test plans, the idea is that you actually get to the end and you find nothing, there's nothing to do, right? So it's one of those, psychologically, one of those areas in business that you actually want to get a null result, which is important. And when you don't, you've actually got a plan there. So if you don't, NetSuite really want to know that. Let us know that you've been testing the release preview account. Contact us. We'll log a request on your behalf to let them know that what we found. And we can also track that and let you know what NetSuite have updated you with. By all means, feel free to contact NetSuite directly on those things as well. Okay, so I think I've just talked about all that. Make sure that you've mapped out all those business process flows. Make sure that all those crucial ones are covered, that there's not going to be any surprises for you, and then execute on it. And just put that in your plan. Okay, I think I'm wrapping up. So look, other resources, contact us if you've found something a little bit untoward and you go, hey, I just don't know if this is normal or not. Do reach out to us. As you can no doubt tell, our consultants have been in there looking at that new environment, making sure that it is okay. We can let you know what we've found. So please do get in touch with us, and we're here to help. So that wraps up our session for today. I'd really like to say thank you all for joining us today on this webinar. We really enjoy presenting this information to our customers. We think it's crucial that as a partner of the NetSuite community, that we can try and add some value to you. We know you've got busy schedules. We know that you just don't have time to be looking at the technology side of things. You've got a whole other world to worry about. So we just want to try and fill that gap, give you some meaningful information quickly and timely. If there's anything today that you feel like I've missed, please do get in touch. As we've touched on, we really wanted to present Project 360 and Cash 360 to you today. Obviously, through the new release portal, NetSuite are promoting it quite a lot. They just haven't given us anything to promote yet, so or to present yet, I should say. So thanks for bearing with us on that one. If you've got any questions on any of those areas, and I think some information around WMS was an area that there's a lot of detail very quickly. Do come and get in touch with me. We can give you a demo of WMS end to end if that's something that you would like, and that's true for all these different aspects as well.
We hope this video gave you the information you were after. If you have any further questions, get in touch with us using the links in the description.